Good. Okay.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Nice to be here and nice to be in communication with you all. Um, in spite of all the troubles in the world, I hope you can find a quiet niche to keep your mental and emotional balance. It can be a challenge these days, but it's doable. I keep thinking of I mentioned this to somebody on email the other. There's an old Neil Young song. Um, don't let it get you down. It's only castles burning.
Oh, yeah.
Just find someone who's turning and you will come around. I do, and that's from like 1973 or something. So that's my advice. It's only castles burning, and we're not in the castles. So uh, I'm sure you've all been having experiences since our last get together and maybe not remembering them all. I find that once we trigger this in ourselves, it keeps on going, whether we are consciously aware of it or not. I know I have, even I wake up with in the morning, not in communication, but, a shred of a lucid dream. And this morning, I mentioned this to Cynthia. All of a sudden, out of nowhere, I had about this 15-second memory of talking to a stranger about the importance of Jeff Hancock's two art series on ancient archaeology on Netflix, which was a few months ago, where he re-examines all these old, um, you know, uh, cultural uh, temples and whatnot, and goes against the conventional archaeological analysis of how they came there. So and I was quite intently telling this guy, no, no, you really have to watch these Jeff Hancock things on Netflix. It's really important. And then I woke up thinking, well, man, I was really focused on that. And it was just gone in like 20 seconds. And if I had mentioned to Cynthia, I would have forgotten altogether. So just to give that as an example, I do feel that we're all doing things out of body at night. And if you only have shreds of memory, that's fine. It's still there. It's still happening. So, and the rest of you, if you haven't seen those Jeff Hancock things, they're great. They're very, very good. Lots of great photography, lots of insight into all these ancient temples and in many, many countries, and trying to link them all together to the legends of floods and the legends of the ice ages and, that sort of a thing. Um, anyway, that's a little off the afterlife, but uh, I should say, does anyone have something they'd like to report that they feel is important from the last couple of weeks before we get started? I'm certainly open to hearing about it.
Yeah. Um, yeah, can I? It's Mark. Just something that
Mhm.
happened yesterday. I was working in the garden, just, watering the flowers and raking and all this kind of stuff and doing what you have to do to keep the garden all together, trimming trees and whatever. And out of the corner of
Yeah.
my eye for just an instant, it was so fast. I saw a gentleman standing in the entrance to our garden, and he was wearing um, a cargo pants, cargo vest, dark hair, and huge yellow aviator glasses. I have no idea who it was. It was somebody I didn't recognize at all, but it was just a split second, and I could see this man standing there, and he disappeared. That that was mine.
Hmm. So he was just a spirit observing you, I think.
I guess he was. I guess he was, but that's odd. That's odd. I haven't seen things like that usually in the daytime before.
Hmm. Hmm.
I mean, I've seen other things, but not that. That's it.
Thanks. Yeah, I think earthbound spirits, if that's what they are, miss certain things about our life, whether it's a nice meal or, a couple of beers or, um, a hockey game. or some, with this guy, it's going to be gardening, right? He's going to miss his garden. So I think they pop in and watch us and think, oh, wouldn't it be great to do that again? You know,
Yes. Very good. Thank you.
little, of course, realizing they can do all this stuff in the spirit world because they're kind of stuck here. But, that's their journey, I guess. They have to find out for themselves unless we link up with them as we might do this afternoon and show them how to do it. But I think I've always felt that there's always more people to help elevate up to the spirit world than we've got like time to do it. But we do what we can.
Thank you.
Sure. The odd time, Mark, I do get a glimpse at the corner of my eye. I've mentioned this before, of nature spirits in the garden. I know they're there. I know they're watching me. I know they're giving me encouragement. Although they're saying, "Oh, God, don't do that. Leave that alone. Go over here and do this." I'm doing all this sort of garden stuff, and they're going, "No, that's not really a good idea. Just leave that one there. Don't transplant it." So you get to hear these voices, and you go, "Oh, all right, I won't do it then."
Yeah.
So I'm kind of at that stage. I've been at that stage for a couple of years.
Nice.
And once in a while, you get a glimpse out the corner of your eye of a being that looks kind of like what you think, a garden gnome or a sprite or an elf should look like. But according to some of the books, they project an image that they think we're comfortable with. Here's what we look like according to a fairy tale book from 100 years ago, and that seems to be the case. They project images to make us comfortable, but I don't know for sure.
Yes. Agreed.
Anyway, I guess you're all keen to go. We usually are, and I certainly would second that emotion. Let's all get focused and join together in the eternal moment of now, and understand that we are more than capable of moving through space and time to interact and sometimes help spirits on almost any level of the afterlife. Doesn't have to be low, it doesn't have to be high, it doesn't have to be in the middle, it can be anywhere. We've, I think, pretty much proven to ourselves over the last few months that this is all completely doable. And of course, it varies with one's own energy level from week to week. There's definitely weeks where I'm more focused and efficient, than others. There's definitely weeks where I'll say to you, "Oh, geez, I tried to do this and I didn't get anywhere." So if that happens to you, don't get despondent, don't get discouraged. I find the energy levels a bit like a carnival ride. It goes up and down, and for a variety of reasons. And sometimes trying to figure out those reasons can be a little self-defeating. And just kind of, I would say, just go along with the ride and enjoy the ups and downs as they come to you. So to get back to the meditation, let us focus and let us be quiet. Let us be still. Let us breathe slowly with our eyes shut. Let us be comfortable in whatever position you find yourself comfortable. Lying, sitting, crouching, whatever. I'm now just slowing my breath a little. And I hope you are too. And begin to allow your astral body to be freed up from your physical. See it moving up out of your physical position in the room that you are in. Let it move up through the ceiling of that room and up through whatever other ceilings there might be there if you're in an apartment. or up through the roof if you're in a house. Let that happen slowly and gradually, and it will happen. Allow yourself to float free above the rooftops of your community. Feel that sensation of being above your community and all the incarnate souls busily away below, doing what they feel they need to do. And bless them. Bless them for being who they are. They don't need to be anybody else. And if you are feeling comfortable and ready, then please move off in whatever direction you feel impelled to do. Go where you feel like you need to go or where you are needed. And if guides are giving you a little push in some direction, allow them to do so. And just a reminder that you are free to interact in any way you see fit, a contact, a rescue, a bit of psychotherapy from sitting on a park bench if that's what that person needs. You know, just move in any of those directions. And I wish you well, and we'll talk to you again in about 15 minutes.
Yeah, Gordon, they're starting to wake up now.
Okay, thanks, David.
Mm-hmm.
Give them a couple of minutes to get focused and finish up.
Sure.
Okay, friends, if you feel like you're ready to return to your physical location, please feel free to do so. And if you have need of a minute or two more, don't feel rushed. We can wait for you. Okay, welcome back, everyone. And if you wish to speak of your experience, put up your hand and David will direct you.
Mm-hmm. Well, you guys are thinking about it. I guess I'll go first. And
Okay.
I hit a short one from last time that I didn't tell, and this is I'll tell that, and then I'll tell you the one that happened today. The last time is more like a vision that I had, and it didn't last very long, and it wasn't really a crossover. But Margaret, you'll like this one. I saw this dog, and I don't really know my dogs very well. All I know is that this dog looked healthy, and it had auburn color to it. The hair was maybe a couple inches, but it was happy and it was talking to me. And I said, "How did you get here?" And remember, this is not a crossover. It was more like the dog was in heaven already. And the dog, I don't have a name, said, "Well, something happened to me. My owner, he lit me on fire." So it's a dog abuse case. But I forgive him. He was angry, and I don't have any beef with him anymore. I'm happy. And then the next vision I saw is I was in a dog park, and there was like 30 dogs running around, including this dog, and they were all happy as can be. So, and then it ended after that. So I just thought it was interesting to present an animal case. Now, what happened today was I found myself in in a building that was an American Legion building, American Legion Hall. I wonder how many people have been in that before, have gone to one of those things. If you haven't, you have to be a veteran. They're all over the United States, like in small towns, big towns. and they're more like a meeting place, and you can go in there. They have, it's built and owned, self-owned. It's not owned by the government. It's a private thing, and they serve meals in there sometimes, like spaghetti dinners, pancakes, that kind of stuff. They usually have a bar, and this one was dated. I think this crossing is back at least 25 years old, because it looks old in there. And there's tables set up. They're more like card tables. It wasn't like it was kind of run down a little bit. And so there was card tables, and there was this one card table. There was 3 guys on there. I remember the one guy, and I have a pretty good description of him. He looked like he was in his 50s, short, bald head, but not shaven like you see today. Everybody's shaving their heads and stuff. It wasn't like that. He had hair on the sides, and a white mustache, and he had like a Hawaiian type shirt on, blue and white. He was a little bit pudgy, but not much. And he had like like a gold chain around him. They used to wear that kind of stuff, back in 20 years ago. And he was like, he had like sunspots all over him, like he'd been out in the sun and everything. And he was playing cards with these 2 other guys, and somehow I ended up sitting next to him. And he was a happy, jolly type guy. And so we started talking, and I asked him, you know, I asked him what he did for a living. And then I got a vision of a young man, a younger one of him, when looked like he was about 18 or 19, and he had a fireman's hat on, and he had a hose in his hand. So I said, "Oh, you were a fireman?" He goes, "Oh yeah, I was." And then I said, "Well, you know, you're dead, don't you?" And he goes, "Yeah, I know." He goes, "Are you?" And I said, "No, I'm not. I'm just visiting. I help people move on." And he goes, "Oh yeah, I've heard about you people before." I said, "Well, how did you hear about us?" He goes, "Well, my sister's been coming. I've been here a long time. I didn't have a family in my life. I wasn't married or anything. So that was my socialization, was coming to the American Legion, just hanging out there every night. And, and, and there's also like a bar there that I saw with a couple of men there, and a female bartender. And this guy that I was helping, he had a scotch in his hand. So he just liked to come and play cards and drink his drinks and socialize. And he said, I said, "Well, why are you still there?" He goes, "Well, I like this. I'm happy here. I have no reason to move on. I know about that I can go further, because my sister has been coming, and it's his sister's in spirit. And she's been telling me, you've been doing this a long time. Isn't it about time that you move on? There's a lot more out there. Instead of just doing this, you can accomplish more things. And I know you're happy, but I already have a house that I have for myself, and I have a room for you. So, why don't you think about it?" And so I asked him, "Well, what do you think?" He goes, "Well, my sister told me that I'm ready, and that someone else would be coming, and I guess that person's you. And I really think I'm ready to move on." And he asked me a question. He says, "Will it hurt?" And I said, "No, it won't hurt at all." And then, so the next thing, oh, okay, I don't know if I said this or not. I asked him before, "Well, how did he die?" And I got a vision of it was like a cartoon type, and it was a heart, what the heart looks like, and all the vessels that come off of it. And I said, "Well, you died of a heart. You had heart problems?" He go, "Yeah, that's what happened." Anyways, the next thing, I had another vision, and it was a parade, and this is a parade that's 25 years ago. And I saw a group that was dressed in like red uniforms, and there was a banner in the front that said like the Fireman Company 210 or whatever. and there was a couple of teenagers that were carrying that, and then there was these other firemen that were throwing out candies to the kids. And him and the parade, they went into the light, and that's how he crossed over, and that was it. So that's my contribution for today. Larice, I think you were next. Go ahead and unmute.
Okay, I love that, David. I loved your experience.
Thank you.
I have a thing going on in my family right now where my mom has been, like, she fell and hurt herself, and so for that reason I had like elder care and nursing homes on my mind. And so when I kind of just drifted off to see where I would go, this woman came over to me. She was probably in her late 40s, I'd say, in spirit. And she said, "Can you help me with something?" She goes, my mother won't come. She won't come. And I don't, nobody can get anything out of her. And I said, "Well, I'll see what I can do." So she took me to this nursing home, and I don't know where it was. I don't know that the location really mattered very much, but it was this very elderly woman was like curled up in bed in a fetal position, just laying there, just not moving. And she was in spirit. So I thought, well, this is going to be interesting, you know? And I started talking to her, nothing. Then I nudged her a little bit, and she kind of moaned, and she said, "Leave me alone." I said, No, I want to talk to you, and I want you to talk to me. It's not going to hurt. Nothing bad's going to happen. I just want to, you know. And I talked to her some more, and finally she kind of stirred a little bit, and I said, "What are you doing here?" And she said, "Well, this is how I ended up, you know." And I said, "Yeah, but why are you still here?" I didn't really say anything about being dead or anything. I was just trying to figure out what, you know, I guess she might have had, I don't know what she had. She was sort of like catatonic, I guess, in the end of her life, and she just didn't move. She just stayed curled up in that position. And I said, "Are you afraid of something?" And she kind of hesitated, and she started to get mad, and then she gave that up and started to cry. And I said, "What are you afraid of?" And she said, "I'm afraid to die." And I said, "Why?" And she got really frustrated about that. I don't know what you expect to hear when you tell somebody that, but I said, "Why?" And she really kind of didn't want to go there, and she was frustrated with me, but I persisted. I said, "I just want you to tell me why. Do you know why?" And she said, I'll just disappear. I'll be non-existent. I won't exist anymore. I just can't handle that." And I said, "Well, nobody could handle that. That would be the most horrible thing to ever happen to anyone, and it doesn't." And then, you know, she got mad, and she said, "Well, how can you come in here and tell me that doesn't happen? Blah, blah, blah." I said, "Well, because it doesn't. I mean, I know." And she said, "Well, are you, you know," she didn't even know how to ask the question, because she wasn't sure. Like she was just on the very other side of just having crossed over the veil, and she wasn't in the body anymore, but she hadn't moved at all. The whole thing, her whole surrounding, you know, was the nursing home. And it's like she just thought if she didn't move at all, she would still exist. And her daughter, who had approached me, was there, but she didn't. I told her I'd let her know when I wanted her to start interacting, because we weren't there yet. So I said, okay. So I said, I understand why you're afraid. Nobody would like that. I understand. I said, but you don't have your body anymore. And she said, yes, I do. I did everything to hang on to. And I said, I know you did, but it didn't. It went away anyway. You left it. It actually didn't go away. You did. And then she said, well, where is it then? And I said, I don't know. It probably got buried or cremated or whatever it was supposed to happen when you leave your body. And she was like, well, how can I still be alive? And I said, because you were misinformed. And I said, I want to tell you something else. First, tell me about your family. And she said, well, I said, did you believe in God? And she said, no. She said, that was a bunch of nonsense. And we didn't. And she was proud of her kids. They had all been like high-powered whatever. It was like her daughter had been a high-powered lawyer and her son had been like some kind of high-powered executive somewhere. They had kind of mastered, this culture and the earth, what we're all in, to their own satisfaction. I don't think they were particularly compassionate or anything. They just, because they didn't believe in anything higher than their own experience. And then after she told me all that, I said, so did you ever think about what would happen when you died, or when your daughter died, or your son, or your husband, or any of that? She said, well, no, not really. Then when it came time for me, I just hung on as tight as I could, as long as I could. And I said, well, your daughter is here with me. And then she got upset with me again. It's like, the stuff you say, like, just, and I said, no, really. I said, look at me and then look past me and just tell me if you don't see her. I challenge you. I dare you. Look, And she looked past me and she saw her daughter and she freaked out. It wasn't entirely bad. It was sort of an excited freak out. It was like, we would probably say, oh my God, but they didn't really have that, they didn't really say that. I don't know. I don't remember what she said, and her daughter was kind of impatient. She was like, Mom, it's not what they told us. It's something completely different. Now, would you please come with me? I have a lot of stuff to show you. Like, it's different than they said. Okay. Just, trust me. And so, her mother said, well, okay. Because I guess in some way she was really, really tired of doing what she considered to be hanging on really tight. And she was, okay. Because, it was her daughter and everything. And she just said, okay. So I said, are you good? Or you want me to come with you? And she said, no, I'll be fine. Because I have a guide with me and we're going back. So then they just left. And then one thing she did say the daughter said before she left, she said, I have other family members that didn't make it either, because we all believed, you die when you die, and nobody wanted to, because it's too horrible to contemplate. And I said, yeah. So she said, well, would you help me with the rest of them? I said, yeah, I can't do it now, but I'll be glad to do whatever I can. So that's how that ended. And they left and went to the spirit world.
Well, thanks for that. That was pretty interesting.
Yeah, I liked it too.
Okay, Adrian, lower your hand, or I'll lower your hand for you. There you go.
So this time I first I saw a piece of art, and then I didn't see a person, but I just felt the presence, and I thought it was an artist, and also it was an artist who were schizophrenic, like he had schizophrenia when he was living, and to a degree it followed him after he died. Like maybe it's a bit different, but he still was confused, and he had this inner strife, like this battle. He also had paranoia, like he was a bit paranoid. But I got the sense that he had been in this state for a while, and maybe was tired of it. So I just started talking to him, and we had a discussion about the change is possible, that he doesn't have to suffer like he's suffering now. But also we talked about trust. Like I got the sense that in order for him to move on, he has to let go of his paranoia, at least a little bit, and to trust something, anything, because as long as he's completely in his paranoid state, there is no opening to him, like he will just shut out everything. So he didn't trusted me either, not fully, but there was a small part of him that trusted me. That I told him that if you don't trust me, he can, I can go away and can come back, or he can call upon someone with a positive intent for him, with the intent to help him, and someone will come if he will call, but he need to be able to trust him at least a little, and just go with it. And then he kind of told me to go away, so I prepared to go away, but told him that if he calls for someone will come and will help him. Maybe it is time for him, because I wouldn't have come here if he wasn't kind of ready. Then I said goodbye, but then I got this sense him that he didn't want to leave me, so he changed his mind, and I was okay. So I talked about him a bit more. Like it was like talking like to children who wants to hear the same thing many times before. Like he had this need, like just saying it to him one time wasn't enough. Like he wanted to hear it multiple times. So I was repeating myself the same story about trust, that about help is available. He doesn't, and also he unload on me his condition, like his inner strife, his inner suffering. It's like I don't know, maybe there is a word for it, but he was really confused, like but it's like a really big confusion. Maybe that's what schizophrenics feel. And by me being there and receiving this confusion from him, I felt that something is lifted for him. Like because I was there, because I was feeling what he's feeling, sometimes something changed in him. A certain burden has lifted. So then I told him that let's call together for someone can help. And we did. And someone came, like I saw his face for a split second. It was a male guide, and he was laughing. He had this shine in his eyes. And but this guy wasn't ready to move on. I felt that for some reason he just wanted me to just be there for a while. So I was just hanging there, like it felt that my presence is accomplishing something, even if I don't say anything. So I was just there, and I had the sense that they left. Yeah, I wanted to quit this situation, but multiple times, but I felt that he wanted me to still stay there, so I hanged on for a while. But then I felt that they left somewhere. So I'm confident that there was a significant change in his state, and that going to be enough for him to move on, even if he hasn't moved on yet.
That's very interesting because there's a lot of subtleties there. And one of them's like that you sense that he didn't want you to go without him even saying it, but you just sensed it.
That's true.
It could have ended sooner, but you had such a feeling that no, I think I'll stick around, and that's really cool that you're able to do that.
Yeah, now that you are saying this, I'm kind of surprised. Yeah, because that's how it was. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. How about, you said he was an artist. Did you have a chance to remember what the background, like what room, like did he have pictures and that type of thing, or how did you know that?
It was also just knowing, but I saw a picture, like it was kind of a door, but door opening, but it was artistic.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like I just saw it for a brief second, and I tried to hold on to the image, but I couldn't. But I just seen it long enough to know that it was a beautiful painting,
Mm-hmm.
even though it was simple.
Yeah.
And maybe it was more, but that was what I seen, this
Mm-hmm.
door.
Very good.
And then I tried to do another one with when I just without my conscious knowledge of what is happening, like sending forward the portion of myself to do.
Mm-hmm.
But this one was a long retrieval, so it was just a minute, and so it was over.
Mm-hmm. Oh, very good.
Yeah, it was interesting.
Thanks, Adrian.
Yeah, this time I was tuned, like I had a wider connection than usual.
Mm-hmm. It's like Gordon was saying in the beginning, our energy goes up and down. Sometimes we can see more and sometimes it's less, and whatever happens, just be happy. That's what I got out of what you said, Gordon, because I felt the
Mhm.
same way. And,
Pretty much, yeah.
sometimes I was getting bummed out that I couldn't get as much as I wanted, but lately it's like I'm just happy that I'm just here, and I don't always have to get something.
Mhm.
And also, it's interesting that it seems that schizophrenia, to a degree, can, transfer
Mm-hmm.
the afterlife. Maybe it's just a brief thing, like someone maybe is stuck in something strong, but it was affecting him there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for sure. I've noticed that a few times, Adrian. People who transit with mental issues or, Alzheimer type stuff. My mother did. They get treated and they're taken care of for a week, 2 weeks, or whatever they feel is necessary until they sort of escape the sort of organic dysfunction of their physical brain and nervous system. I'm not quite sure how that works. I think they're treated with healing energy beams, but I'm not sure. But I've definitely come across that many times.
That's interesting and also a bit upsetting. I hoped that if someone, have this kind of conditions, then after he moves to the afterlife, that doesn't follow him, but it seems that it does.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's a whole variety of variations on how it affects them a little, a lot, or they just drop it altogether. But it's similar to in Bruce Moen's, I think, second or third book, he talks about people who still think they're missing a leg or some physical injury, and they're treated as though they have, and they're brought into an operating theater and sedated in some way, and two doctors or doctors will use mental abilities to recreate a new limb, and then they wake up with a new limb and they go, oh great, it's fixed. And there's quite a vivid account of that in one of Bruce's books. I should quote it somewhere. It's really quite something.
Hmm.
But
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, but the upsetting part is, if someone is really confused, that may hinder guides to get
yeah,
through him. And
yes, and true. It's true.
and it's,
And you just have to
that's
do your best. And I think you did your best there. So good for you. You were
yeah,
patient. You talked to him. That was great.
Yeah. You didn't
that
give
was
up. You didn't give
yeah.
up.
Yeah, I felt this pressure to stay there.
Hmm.
Okay,
It's
Mark.
it's not all black and white. There's a lot of grays in there. Okay, Margaret, go ahead.
Okay, that was good, Adrian. Thank you. I like that one. Okay, I got actually to the first level, again, going through a lot of clouds. And so I said, hello, is there anybody here? Is there anyone that needs any assistance? And a 30-year-old woman came forward. She was dressed in a long black dress with long sleeves and kind of puffy shoulders and a cinched waist. She came into view and she said, yes, I've been here a very long time and I need help. She said I was burnt. That's all she said. So I immediately got the impression that she was a black witch, maybe from Salem. So I said, come with me. Like maybe I'm not sure of the year. For some reason, I get 1420. So I don't know. I have to look at that up. I don't know when the Salem witches were around. So I'll have to check on that. I said, there's someone here that you should meet. So we came to the portal, the opening, and there was a crystal white angel standing there at the portal to the other side. And she said, oh, no, not that, not that. I don't want an angel. I don't want an angel. And as soon as I said that, the angel beamed unconditional love to her and their eyes locked. And there was a clear connection between the two of them. It was evident. And then she walked through the portal with the angel. Beside the portal, there was a white unicorn. He had flowers around his neck, and he turned and he walked away saying this was a soul connection. And so I just thought, oh, wow, that's weird. I hadn't heard that before. But unicorns, as I've told you, work with the soul of humans, and angels work with the heart. So if there is a soul connection to be made, unicorns usually step in to help the healing for that. But if your soul was, but they don't always help if the soul is either not ready or they're not supposed to be there at that time. They will not intervene. But just because he was there by the portal and then he just turned and walked away and I heard him say a soul connection. That's it.
Thanks,
Very-
Mark. That was
yeah.
interesting to feel the witch and the angel blend their harmonies or blend themselves into a harmony.
It's also interesting the time, that goes way back. So
It does.
Yeah, did that.
I mean, I could really see her. Like she was about 30 years old, but she had a lot of raven black hair, really long, and she just almost looked like royalty with this dress that she had on. It was a large, the collar right to the neck, and you could make out the long sleeves and then the long dress, and it was cinched at the waist, and
Yeah.
she was really quite attractive. So I didn't ask her. I felt, I know she said she was burned, but I didn't go into detail with her, and maybe I should have done that, which I'll think about in my next one.
But that date is really interesting too. That's like 600 years ago in Earth time or whatever.
Yeah, it's amazing how long they can stick around.
Gordon, you're next.
Okay, I was find myself thinking about the current political situation between Israel and Iran. and what I'd seen in the news in the last day or two. And I thought I knew a bunch of those missiles had done some collateral damage, aside from oil refineries and military installations, and civilians had been killed. And I thought, okay, let's go to Tehran and see what I can do. And I found some people recently killed in a missile attack in their home, I believe, or an apartment building. I wasn't quite sure. And they seem to know the lady I spoke to is part of either a family group or a group of neighbors. There seemed to be a few of them there, all died at the same time. Seemed a little frantic about getting in touch with relatives that had jumped in their car and tried to leave town. As perhaps you've seen on reports, Tehran's highways are jam-packed with cars trying to get out of town. Really jam-packed. So this was a surprise to me. I made the usual offer. I can help you move on. And they seemed to understand who I was. There didn't seem to be a lack of trust, but there was this real important thing. They had to get in touch with these relatives, I believe there were relatives, that were in a car getting out of town, to tell them that they were dead. So that was kind of interesting. So I said, I said, okay, you want to do that? And they said, can you help us? And I said, well, I don't really know these relatives, but you do. So what you need to do is I'll stand with you, and you need to think of this relative, think of their faces and their bodies and how much you care for them. And then we'll all just go there, and I'll help you go there. But you have to do the thinking. You have to do the seeing them. So I didn't know if that would work, but it did. And the next thing, we're in a car, and they're excitedly trying to tell the people in this car that was, I think, moving slightly slowly or stopped in a traffic jam, that they were dead. And of course, they couldn't really get through to them. And we're feeling more frustrated. And so, I stood back and gave them some space to attempt what they wanted to do, and left them, I don't know, sort of talking loudly and pushing people on the shoulder and, saying, hey, we're here, and I thought, oh, they're not going to get through. But at some point, a dog in the car barked, and I thought, oh, the dog sees them. And I'm not sure if that really affected the rest of the people in the car, but the dog was like, woof, woof, he could see them. So the next thing that happened was I'm thinking, okay, these people need some time. I'm going to leave them. And because of this thing I have about playing fair, I think you'll remember with the Ukraine retrievals, I worked with Russian soldiers and Ukrainian people with all their different belief systems, Catholic and communist mainly. But anyway, and I'd heard that, Iran had been successfully sending missiles to some towns like Haifa. So I said, okay, let's go to Haifa. And I found some dead people in Haifa, again, bombed in their buildings that they lived in. And they were in a kind of a different frame of mind. They had a very strong, let's call it tribal allegiance, because they were being attacked. And I think there was other feelings left over from being Israelis and not liking what the IDF had done to the Hamas people, but not saying anything about it because they felt like, oh, we don't like this, but we can't talk about it. There was an overhang of guilt, and then so suddenly they're dead and somebody's attacking them. But their reaction seemed to be a sort of a tribal allegiance thing, because I said, well, they seem to sort of, at first it was like, well, who are you? And I said, well, I'm a spirit come to help you move on. And they looked at me a little suspiciously. I don't think they thought I was dying, but they kind of wondered at what my allegiance was. And so they started, I said, well, talk among yourselves. I mean, I'm not here to force you to do anything. And just to give you options, you can move on, or you can stay here if you want. And so there was I stood back, and I could hear them sort of debate with, I don't know, 5 or 6 people, and debating with each other. They all seemed to be adults. I didn't see any children, and although there might have been some like cowering in the corner, I just didn't see them. And they were debating the merits of doing one thing or doing another. And I could hear one person saying to another, "Well, that guy over there thinks we should move on." And I was like, "That guy over there." It was kind of funny to be that guy over there. Anyway, I mean, they weren't disrespectful, but they weren't exactly full of praise either. So I think all the war vibes for months and months and months had just worn them down, and maybe they could be quite civilized, some months ago, but they'd lost a bunch of it in the interim, which is understandable. Anyway, so they debated amongst themselves. I'm standing back waiting to see what they want to do. And I could see they were, having a fairly intense debate about what to do. And so I I nipped back to the car on the highway in leaving Tehran, and the dead people trying to wake up or communicate with their relatives in the car. And they still weren't having success, not really. And so I said to them, "Well, listen, you want to stick around and do this? I mean, I'm not forcing you to do anything. You can stay here in this car. You go back to where you lived, although it's kind of ruined, or we can move on to the heaven world." And they said, "Well, we'll think about it." And then as I was saying, "Okay, I'll be on my way," one woman said to me, "Can you come back in a few days?" So I said, "Yeah, sure, I'll come back." And so that was around the time that David said it was about time to be over. So I think you can sort of see an interesting sort of setup there. People with, we retrieve some people and they're like, "Oh yeah, man, I really want to go. Let's go now. I'm sick of this stuff. Let's get out of here." And then others are kind of not quite sure what to do, So both of those situations were fairly unique, I would say.
Mhm.
And I was intrigued with what happened.
So
What
Gordon,
didn't happen.
the one
Mhm.
lady wants you to come back. So
Yeah, I'll go back
in
in
the
a
next
couple of days. Yeah.
in the next couple of days, you'll do that at your house or
Oh
wherever.
yeah. I'll think about it while I'm doing something else.
Hmm.
I'm working with a couple of local clients here where I'm doing projections and healing work, and I'll just think about, oh yeah, those people. Yeah, I'll go back to them. Because
Yeah.
it might be 2 days from now, but I don't
Hmm.
know if it'll seem like 2 days to them. It might seem like 20 minutes. It's
Yeah.
hard to say.
Right. Right. Yep. Yeah. So if anybody has one of these retrievals when we're not meeting, like at home sometime, just go ahead
Yeah,
and help
sure,
them
by all
over.
means.
We've been doing this for a while, and you can do it in your own privacy if you want.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. Do those anytime you like, and take some notes, and we'll hear about it later.
Yeah.
Um, David, can I ask a question? A
Hmm.
couple of times my audio has been a little garbled. Some of Mark's stuff was garbled, not all of it. Some of yours was.
Hmm.
And when you were talking about the firemen and the Legion Hall and stuff, and
Yeah.
then you got to a part where there was some sort of a parade.
Yeah.
Did I get that right?
That's right.
So
That's how
then it got garbled. What happened at the parade?
all that happens is it's just a way, another method of doing the final crossover. You have the light.
Uh-huh.
People go to the light, and this is just a bunch of him and his buddies, his dead buddies. They took him over, and it was a parade setting. They were marching in a parade.
Uh-huh.
It was like an afterlife parade. That's all it was. and he was
I
part of
see.
it, and so he had decided that, yeah, I am going to do it, and that's the way that he decided to do it.
Right. And that was just because
It's that way.
his sister had come by and given him some encouragement.
Yeah, she kept bugging him,
Yeah.
and I was like the last straw. I mean, I was the final thing that he was actually waiting for me or someone to come and say, okay, okay, I'm ready to do it, and he was ready. I don't remember ever seeing him before. So it was other guides and his sister that's deceased, other people. Sometimes it takes a lot of coaxing, to get them to finally make a move, as we all talk about, they're not ready and that kind of thing. And this,
Yes.
as I
Yes.
said before,
Yes. I
usually when I
understand.
see them,
It was just a
they're
little garbled, and I wanted to ask you about the details.
yeah. I don't know why it is, and I think it's because of that Father Nathan that I work with. When they come and see him, they're ready. And as crazy as it seems, I think when they see me, they're all vetted and ready to go. The ones that I get,
Yes. Yes.
just with my experience of working with him.
Yes. Yes.
So
Okay. Thanks. Now, did we hear from Priscilla yet?
I was going to call on her next.
Okay.
How are you doing there, Priscilla?
Well, I'm new at this. I'm totally fascinated. I am totally fascinated. What happened to me is that I found I was able to go to a place of white light. You know, when you meditate, a lot of times all you see is darkness. I mean, and
Yeah.
I decided, I don't know, a few weeks ago or after listening to something, I decided, I want to see light. I want to see light. And so I've been working on visualizing light, bright yellow sunlight, so that when I close my eyes and meditate, I see a bright light instead of darkness. So here I am with this bright light coming through nicely. And I decided that what I needed was healing. I've been doing guided healing meditations, and they have changed my life, basically. So I pretty much went through a guided healing meditation with this bright light. It's not only has it made me stronger physically, but they have made me stronger emotionally and mentally. And then I listened to the hemisync music, and the one CD that I have that I bought first early on was Higher, the Monroe Institute CD called Higher. And when I started listening to it, then all of a sudden I could remember my dreams. So
Wow.
I could remember the results basically of these healing meditations. All of a sudden it seemed like suddenly the healing meditations, I was having fabulous dreams, suddenly empowered and able to do things.
Yeah.
So, but I have to keep it up. I can't just, it's not a one pill deal.
Oh, yeah, for sure. You do have to keep it up.
So I took this opportunity, it seemed to be what I needed, was to have a concentrated, in-depth, quiet healing time. And that's what I did.
Well, that's great, because as we've said before, and this is not only retrievals, this is all kinds of stuff. Any kind of communication and what you just talked about, the healing, is perfect for this group. And so thank you for telling us that.
You're welcome. And then you asked me about my Monroe
Yes.
stuff. I got through all 50 CDs or exercises about 6 weeks or 8 weeks ago. And I'm needing to get back into those, and I did do one of the exercises a few days ago, but just listening to that higher, the binaural beats in this one CD, this really helps my brain. It's really causes me to be more functional.
Mhm.
So that when I had this task of taking care of this friend and all that it involves, I mean, her banking was a mess. We got to sell her car. Her house is a mess. We got to sell her house. But I've been able to handle it.
Yeah.
And I think it's because of what I've been doing the last year.
Mm-hmm. It's a wonder that some guy, maybe 60 years ago, discovered this method and used it and wrote it down in books and everything and passed. Where did he get all this from? How do you even know to do that?
Well, he started having his own out-of-body experiences, right? But then how did he develop yeah, I don't know. I have one of his books that I've read. I don't know.
Yeah.
The history.
Yeah, well, there are these questions like with ayahuasca, like how did the shamans knew which two
that's true
plants
too.
to pick out of the many thousands plants that are there.
Yeah.
They
must tell us. Yep.
So, Gordon, you mentioned something about when you go out in the garden,
Yes.
like with nature spirits, like they can project an image and you see what's comfortable for you.
Yes,
And
that's right.
something came to mind. Like, you know, we have here in Hungary this Sasquatch circle. And,
Yes.
and sometimes I receive stuff and one person, so a picture reached me. Someone received a clairvoyant vision of a Sasquatch. Like she's an artist, and she asked a Sasquatch to volunteer to be a model for a picture. And she lives near Sasquatch. And one Sasquatch volunteered, and she drew it. So I have a drawing of a Sasquatch, like I'm not sure if you can see it.
Oh yes, right. Got it. Thank you.
Yeah.
Nice. Thanks. It looks a little similar to other portrayals that I've seen.
Yeah, and also what recently happened that maybe twice a year we do these group meditations where we try to connect with the Sasquatch. And one of the members, after these group meditations, the Sasquatch started to coming to her when she goes to sleep, before falling asleep, like for a few minutes. Occasionally they appear to her in her vision. She has this high capacity for visions, like she's fully immersed in them. And this family I just learned about it this week, that since the last meditation, this family of Sasquatch have been visiting her in her imagination, unexpectedly.
Nice. And you say it's a family of Sasquatch?
Yeah, like 3 of them. Maybe there are more, but it's the 3 that visit her. And she mentioned something else, which might be interesting for Margaret, like with the conversation. And I asked if, if it's often that this happens to her, like, does she have these visions? Does she have some kind of connection with anything, like any realm? And what she said that, the Sasquatch has visited her 4 times since the last group meditation, but throughout her life, she has been visited by a dragon.
Yay!
It was a white dragon.
A white dragon. Oh, fabulous, fabulous. That's probably my white dragon.
And she didn't know what it is. It's like the way he spoke about her, it was obvious that she had some sort of connection. And I don't know much about dragons, but For her, it was very real, and even though she doesn't have a concept of what it is, it's very vivid and real for her.
Okay. You know what you can do? You can tell her to look up, if she's on Facebook, look up Dragon Thunder.
Dragon
Dragon Thunder.
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 Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
And she'll see a whole bunch of stuff on dragons that she can look at.
Yeah, by the way, we are going to have another group meditation next week. Like we do it maybe twice a year. So next one is going to be next week. So it should be interesting.
Maybe you can fill us in next time we meet on how it went.
Okay.
I'd like to.
Oh yes, that would be great, Adrian. Please do so.
Yeah, if any one of you want to join, you can. You know, I can send an email, but you know, I'm just mentioning it. You don't have to, but you know, I'm just saying that it's an option if someone is interested in it. It's possible to join.
Thank you.
Great.
Okay, that's all from me.
Larisse, did you have something? A song?
Yeah, I tried to put the link in there. I don't know if it came through or not.
Oh, let's see. Is it? I'll tell you.
It's a Bandcamp link.
Oh yes, you have it.
Yes,
Yep.
it did come through.
You should be able to, unless I wrote, you know, like it's hard for me to write and listen at the same time because I have to depend on audio feedback to do the letters. But I tried. We'll see what happens.
It looks like you got it.
Yeah, I see the link there. Thank you. When you talk about that, dear, I reflect on when we're doing the global gathering, and quite a number of people have the presence of mind to put up comments and links and stuff, you know, and I never seem to be able to, I can't seem to do two things at once. I can't seem to listen to what's going on and then put up intelligent comments at the same time. I get lost. So I'm always in praise of people that can do that.
I have to turn off my speech when people do that, when they put stuff on the screen, because then I can't listen to the speaker. So a lot of stuff gets by me and there's one person in particular that likes to do that the whole running time that the speaker is on. Like they just love to post everything. I'm like, oh, I have to turn my speech off. It doesn't matter too much because if I'm just listening, I don't need it.
Yes, yes.
I find it really distracting.
Yeah. I don't look at it much because it takes me away from what the speaker's saying, and I'm trying to read the thing and try to get away from that doing that.
A couple of times I've scribbled something on a piece of paper and I thought, oh, I better check that out. You know, I'll hurriedly scribble something on a scrap piece of paper and look at it later. But not too often because, you know, I get distracted.
Mm-hmm. So I'll tell you, our next meeting is going to be the 2nd of July. It'll be in the Friday afternoon report. Plus, I send emails out to everybody now to remind you.
Yeah, thanks for the email updates, David. It's great because, you know, me, I'll just forget. If you don't email me, I'll just forget, or I'll get the wrong day.
Yeah, no. I know. I worried about that today. You know.
Well, you sent an email a couple of days ago, so that's just great for me.
Yeah.
Just
okay.
Great.
Yep. Okay. So we had some really good crossings today, and it's really getting interesting. I'm really enjoying it.
Yeah, me too. I always enjoy these. Great fun.
So we'll see you all in a couple weeks. All right.
Okay. Bye. Thanks.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye. Thank you, David.
Bye.
Thank you, Gordon. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Yeah, great to see you all. Thank you.